Welcome to Allies, a show where we talk about countries that supported Ukraine with experts from those countries, and we try to figure out how they developed since the invasion of Ukraine and where they're going. Today with us we have Tracey Chang, Ph.D. candidate at National Taiwan University. At first glance, it may seem that there cannot be much in common between two entities separated by 8,000 kilometers. Ukraine is a continental state while Taiwan is situated on an island. Taiwan is light years ahead both economically and in terms of technology. Ukraine is a net exporter of food products while Taiwan is an importer. Both states speak different languages and are distinct culturally and historically. However significant this difference may be, the similarities what really matters. Both are young democracies that have emerged from the late 80s, the beginning of the 90s, after years of despotism, and both are very vocal and passionate about the freedoms they enjoy. And there is no wonder why the Ukrainian cause has sparked reaction in Taiwan's society, because both are denied their statehood but much bigger neighbors. And I wonder what other similarities we can find today. So my first question to you, Tracey, is I know that you and your husband are both very active in Taiwan when it comes to supporting Ukraine. Could you please tell me more about how this movement came to be and what your motivation is?
So back in 24th of February, like the rest of the world, the people in Taiwan, Taiwanese people were international resident here. We were all in a big shock, and because no one foresee that. I mean, we all know there has been news indicating that this might be happening any soon. But I think the majority of the media and also the government sector, they think the possibility is low, but it happens eventually. And so my husband, he's a Lithuanian. We have settled down in Taiwan for about 3 years. And so he started getting news on his Facebook, and then people's in the Facebook group start discussing, oh, what's happening? What are we supposed to do? And then some people start calling people together before the Moscow representative office in Taipei for protests. Because of the time difference, the protest is actually gathered on the 25th of February in Taiwan. And so there were about a couple dozen people on the first day. I mean, more like the second day of the war. And then the next day, there are almost more than 100 people, I remember. Yeah, so my husband also went there. And so he met many Ukrainian people living in Taiwan, and also Lithuanian people, Polish people, a lot of participants. I mean, this kind of international resident, their nationality is all this formal Soviet Union country. They have their country has similar experience, similar background, so they know how it was like in the Soviet Union time, being ruled by Soviet Union, being ruled by this, they really have this bad memory in the back. And so they are really supportive, and also Taiwanese people for sure. And so that's how my family started to participate. And another connection is my sister-in-law. So my husband's brother's wife, and she's also Ukrainian, although she and her husband live in London for more than 10 years. But we just never foresee that. And when the war happened, we contact her and asking, oh, how is your family back in your home country? And of course, they were all in the shock. but they refused to go. I think it's probably because her sister is nurse and her brother-in-law was a policeman. That's what I remember. So even though it's terrifying back then, but they just felt they need to stay. They need to do something for the country. So we are deeply touched by that and really want to help in any way. But I think even if I don't have a Ukrainian in-laws, I would still want to help. It's just unbelievable things happen in the 21st century. And it's because it's 21st century, we get all this image, video, and news in real time. So I think the shock is strong and dynamic. Yeah, I just don't think anyone after seeing all this news can just stand aside and do nothing. Yeah, so that's why we started doing this.
As far as I understand, quite a lot of expatriates from Europe were involved in the movement, and Taiwanese people also joined. But what about the government? How have they reacted?
I would say the Taiwanese government is pro-Ukraine from the beginning of the war. I don't remember what is the exact day, but I think it's just a couple of weeks after the war broke. The Taiwan MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, set up a donation account for Taiwanese people to donate their money. And so within a month, I think the duration is about a month, this account managed to collect about 1 billion Taiwanese dollar. And so that is quite impressive, I would say, because before Taiwanese people barely know about Ukraine and the other way around. I think we only know about Ukraine as a nation of grain. You have a lot of agricultural production, like similar to those China's media, the people there are beautiful, something like that. Very superficial, yeah. But now, so we don't have embassy. We don't really have embassy. We don't have representative office in Ukraine too, but still tiny people donate this good amount of money in a short time. Yeah. And how our government support? I think the government has some ban for trade between Taiwan and Russia. Some like the chips, the semiconductor product, etc. Yeah, but some people still criticize they can do more. I think some of the Taiwanese petrol companies still manage to import some natural gas or oil from Russia, and people are being criticizing that. So I think before the war, Taiwan government put a lot of effort to establish good relationship with Russia too. I think it's more for the commercial, for the trade purpose. But after the war, it becomes really sensitive. They do not want to cut everything off with Russia in a short period of time, but they are very supportive toward Ukraine. Yeah, that's my observation.
Actually, I had this question about why Taiwan supports Ukraine, but now you mentioned the numbers and the ways you go to support Ukraine, and it's quite impressive actually, because not every European state, Western state has, like typical Western state, had gone like the ways you try to go, being so far away. So is there more to this support? Like, why do many people bunch up around this issue? Are there any similarities historically, maybe?
From my personal perspective, the Chinese government support Ukraine first of all, is we all both fall in a similar position. We all have as we all know, we all have a big country next to us, bullying us. So we sympathize. We have the same feeling for sure. So we want to support Ukraine because of that, and also I think it's a matter of which side are you on. So obviously Taiwan is on this Western democratic democratic alliance with Japan, with American for sure, and so Ukraine is also shifted toward this side. After this war, I got to know that there was this big protest back in 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think it's related to the young people in Ukraine wanting to, I mean, in general, the country become more and more pro European Union, pro the other side of your country, and so young people identify this democracy way. They have know their own identity, and they want everything to be more transparent, democracy and democratic, etc. So it's just about what sides are you with. But I think it's also because more and more European countries now, they are stepping away from China. They want to make, they know something wrong about that. And I think that's also why Lithuania are supporting Taiwan a lot since last year. It's a little bit off topic, but because my husband is Lithuanian, I think it's all related. Yeah. Why Lithuania start supporting Taiwan? Why they just lose all their market in China? And first of all, I think they value which country is more trustworthy. It's a shifting of the international geographic, to be honest. You have to take a stronger stand of which side, which value are you pursuing. So I think that's also the strong message that Taiwanese government, Taiwan's MOFA wanted to release to the whole international society. We're with you, and we don't want to be mixed up with the PRC anymore. And yeah, we're just Taiwan. We are part of your allies. Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually Lithuanian case is quite relevant to the topic because it is part of your security concerns about your foreign policy. Because I know that Taiwan used to enjoy international recognition prior to the 70s. And it's since the 70s, since Sino-American rapprochement, Taiwan has lost a lot of these connections, and now it has to be like on a second diplomatic level, has to establish economic offices instead of embassies. I know in Ukraine we don't have any representation of Taiwan whatsoever, so we have little information about Taiwan coming from official sources. Even though I found a few groups on social media that are Taiwan led in Ukraine, and like there is more, but it's not a strong connection that's been built for many years. And with Lithuania, it's a modern example where a country just steps away from established practice and tries to pursue values more than economic gain. It feels, at least to me. But when it comes to Taiwan and diplomatic recognition, I know you're kind of struggling with this because for Ukraine it's quite easy. We understand this as a tool to build alliances, and we've built those since 2014 more or less successfully. In certain ways we failed as well, but it's been a tool that was given to us. We never questioned whether it exists or not. Taiwan doesn't really have it, so it has to, go extra mile to achieve its goals. And one of those prior to this Sino-American rapprochement was the relationship you had with the United States. And now you have the Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty, which is kind of vague on the terms of how the United States is gonna act if China, PRC, decides to attack or blockade Taiwan. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. So first of all, I want to understand how the Taiwanese society react to this sudden change in the 70s. How did this affect the society? So you had diplomatic relationship, diplomatic recognition. Now you don't have. Was it? How did people take it? Was it seen as something terrible, as a betrayal, or like?
Absolutely, it's a betrayal for many Taiwanese back in that time. I wasn't born back then, but for my parents, they were in their 30 or 40s. So for their generation, it was such a shock that American turned to be friends with China, and then we're not recognized by. Actually, we quit United Nations ourselves. So there was a sense of huge insecure back in that time for the whole society. So actually, a lot of people migrate to America, even though American turn away from you, but still it seems to be the best place to go by then. Yeah, even my family, my mom actually was thinking of moving to New Zealand, but eventually couldn't go. And so I think for tiny society, it was very disappointing. Yeah, but it's not hard to understand why the American government did this back then. And I think it's a very complicated topic to talk about. It's about the identity of Taiwan. On our passport, you will see Republic of China, and that's the official name of our country, which is very confusing for the whole world for sure. That's what happened to us who study abroad, travel abroad, where you hand over your passport, and the custom will ask you, "Where's your visa? You're from China. You're supposed to have visa." For example, I study in Europe. For Chinese people, I don't need one visa to travel. It's different than the Chinese people. Chinese people have to apply, but for Taiwanese, we have this privilege. But still, at the custom, they will recognize you as Chinese because that's what they say, Republic of China. And how can we represent China, right? So I think the different generation in Taiwan definitely identify different things. I think for my parents, they're still in the mix. They think that we are the real China, Republic of China is the good China, the democratic China. But for my generation, to be honest, we don't want to be entangled with this name anymore. We just want to be Taiwan. Taiwan can be a lot of things. Taiwan can be the Han people, the Chinese people, and also Aboriginal people. And also we have a lot of new immigrants from Southeast Asia. So we just call ourselves Taiwan is not a problem, but that is a huge problem for China. So what I'm saying this, back then, even though the society is disappointed, but from my personal perspective, it's also hard for international people to help us, because if you're still in this delusion that you're going to represent the Republic of China, then you're back into this one China policy. And I think that's what the Taiwanese government is trying now. And also, I believe the US government supported that we are now testing if we can make more room as Taiwan, not as the name Republic of Taiwan, but we are just Taiwan. We're different from China. And for new generation, young generation nowadays, we understand that we have to depend on ourselves. We need to equip ourselves better. So we still purchase a lot of military stuff from America because we know that if the war really happened, you cannot completely rely upon the help of your allies. You have to be able to self-defense yourself to a certain degree. Yeah. If Americans want to collaborate with us, want to support us, we're more than happy. And if they turn away, I think this is not the first time. We will not be too disappointed. Yeah, we're just that optimistic because we've been through all this. Yeah, it's okay.
You mentioned that Taiwanese people are steadfast, they're very optimistic, but how is the Taiwanese government trying to tackle this potential threat from China?
Is Taiwan independent? That's the key question. So if you regard Taiwan and China are still in the civil war stage, you are still fighting against each other, just there is no real fire at the moment, then okay, we are one country. But that is also super weird because we don't follow China law. We have our own army, we have everything on our own. So for Taiwan, we're just Taiwan. You cannot call us a province. And that's what China tried to tell the rest of the world. Taiwan is a province which had everything of themselves, but they belong to us. Why are they doing that? Because I wanted to emphasize this part. It's never about what we do. It's always about what they wanted to do. No matter how Ukraine, step a little step backward, it will not bring peace. It's always about what the other annoying country they want to do. So it's about if Taiwan become independent in a sense, because that's what the PRC educated people. Taiwan is part of China. So if one day the people in China realize that, oh my God, Taiwan is not part of us, and they become independent. And there are many local groups hidden in China. They all also want to do the same. It's a big threat for the Communist Party, the China's Communist Parties for sure. So that's their greatest fear. That's why they're so much against Taiwan being itself. So in the past, they are happy with there's just one China. So for Taiwan, there's only one ROC, and for the other side, there's only ROC. They're fine with having illusion of two versions. But now, so PRC is not happy with that anymore. Even if the previous Taiwanese government, they try to stick with this one China policy, they're not happy with that anymore. We absolutely don't like that. And like what I mentioned earlier, the younger generation just felt we have no connection with mainland China at all. And there's another sad part in Taiwan history because so many people come to Taiwan back in the 1950s. They retreated with the army back to Taiwan. I think that brings about a couple million population, and back then Taiwan's population is about 12 or 15 millions. I don't remember. So they are like minority, to be honest. It's like 1-3 or 1-4 different. But they come, they settle, and they kill people, to be frank, because the Taiwanese people, they were educated by, but not educated. They just being colonized by Japan for 50 years. And Japan, although they colonize us, but they bring modern education, they bring modern infrastructure. So the society in Taiwan actually is more advanced than China. So when the army come to Taiwan, and they were all exhausted, they just finished this long war with Japan, and they're afraid communist spies in Taiwan everywhere. So the way they secure their authority is to kill rebellious Taiwanese people. It's a sad thing because only the new immigrants, they can work at the governments. And so the Taiwanese people, they lose their property were taken away, and the tax was super high. So they have a really miserable life. They actually miss the Japanese colonist time because it wasn't like what they imagined. You know, they were the second citizen when the Japanese ruled, but when this new Chinese people come, and they are also still second citizen to this new immigrant. And so why I'm explaining this, it's because maybe people think Taiwan is made of Taiwanese people. Okay, you also have Aboriginal people, a little bit mixed, but we are actually more complicated than that. We have people who were come from mainland just for 1 or 2 generations. So they still wanted to go back because their family are there. They're separated because of the Civil War. But for our new generation, we are born here. So Taiwan is our home. And later on, we lose our connection with mainland China gradually. So PRC hate that too. PRC wants Taiwanese people still think themselves as Chinese. So this part is very similar to Ukraine. Yeah, they still want you to regard yourself as Russian, maybe. Yeah, and there are people in Taiwan supporting that. There are people in Taiwan wanting to unify with PRC. They think we are Chinese and they are so powerful. Their economy are still doing so good. They have this illusion. They have this all this propaganda from the Chinese media. Yeah, and so it's really annoying things. We have exactly the same problem in Taiwan. That's really something I wanted to share.
Taiwan trying to achieve independence is quite new, as far as I understand. It's quite recent, and since maybe it was brewing in the society for quite a while now, but nowadays the government is sometimes mentioning that it may want to go this way. And do you think this is worse risking military escalation with PRC?
Personally, to be honest, screw them, because it's what I just shared. No matter what you do, even you obey to them, they will still they want to take over you eventually. They will just do it in the obvious way or in the subtle way. Yeah, why we start purchasing our identity is because even though the rest of the world regard Taiwan as a democratic country, but to be honest, it was till when I was born, which is 1988, that Taiwan really started becoming more democratic. New generation, or in Taiwan recent year, people are tired of China threats. They just realize they just keep threatening, but they do not do what they threat, to be honest. And even if they really do that, we just need to make ourselves prepared. And it's not about what you did or what you say. If they are ready, if something happened in mainland China, if President Xi wants to secure his rulership, he will do something to Taiwan. It's not about us showing weakness or showing obedience. We need to be strong. If you be weak, then it makes things worse. So for this awareness or mutual understanding is quite similar to Ukraine at the moment. I saw the news that the majority of people think we should continue the war, even the sacrifice is big, because you just realize no matter what you do, it's not about what you did. It's always about what I want to do. So if you stay weak, if you let them see some space that they can take away, then you lose. That's just worse. Yeah.
In May, Biden said the US would use force to defend Taiwan. Did the people in Taiwan, did the government understand it as the US would join a hypothetical war on behalf of Taiwan? Or how does this work, actually?
Very difficult question, because I think no one can answer it. Even you ask American, they will just give you the official answer. But I think Taiwan is important to America for sure, because China is its biggest fear at the moment. So if China managed to take over Taiwan, that will really break the balance of Asia region. So I think they will try hard to stop things happening, to remain the balance at the moment. And to be honest, we learn. I mean, Taiwan, we do learn from Ukrainian experience. If you manage to protect yourself, if you manage to defend yourself for a couple of days, even for a couple of weeks, then your allies will be more likely to help you. Not only Taiwan, but the international society did learn that from Ukrainian case. I mean, a lot of people didn't expect you to defend yourself for such a long time, but you showed that you're capable, and you showed that they ought to stay on your side and do something about that, because you share the same value. Maybe the value is too polished word, but at least you share the same interests, right? So I think the help will come. Not only America, but Japan, they also share the same interests. They also do not like China, and they do not like Russia in recent days. So and they are pretty strong. I mean, the American army, they are well trained, and they have been training soldier in Japan and South Korea for a long time. So yeah, I think it's very hard for China to take over Taiwan. Yeah, we have a lot of military equipment. We do spend a big fortune to buy for America, and also we have all these allies around. It's a much more challenging case compared to Ukraine. We're not linked to Russia, and yeah, we have been preparing for this for more than just 8 years. We have been preparing for this since the Civil War. So it's a dozen of years already. Yeah.
Russia has quite drastically overestimated the reach of its influence actors in Ukraine, and there are quite a lot of those over the years. But does Taiwan have any PRC leaning parliamentaries, maybe, or civic organization, or public figures? Do you have those?
Yeah, I think I mentioned a bit earlier, we do have I just spit it out. KMT.
Oh.
KMT. It's a really interesting story. KMT used to be the party that fight against Communist Party, but gradually, I think it's because they suppressed the majority of Taiwanese back then, and then now they take over what belongs to them, and so they decided, okay, the And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So KMT in Taiwan, they become friend with PRC. And so they say, well, it's the same theory. They say, why not make enemy if you can make a friend? KMT, we are the group of people that will bring peace to Taiwan. We can make trade with China. You can make money. And so this I think that's their key appeal to the Taiwanese society. So but the Taiwanese people are not buying it anymore. So you can see that they lose the election a lot in recent year. And although people say it's not good for one party to be extremely big, like the current ruling party is like, it's become so powerful and none of the other group can go against that. I think that's not a good democracy too. But yeah, I think Taiwanese people are getting rid of this PRC pro party. We certainly do have, and they still have their influence, especially in the elder generation. So for different generation, they believe in different things. So it's still there, maybe.
Russia has hit Ukrainian economy quite heavily. This is true, especially regarding grain exports that we used to do by sea. Do you have any means to break such a blockade should it occur? Would it happen with the help of allies, or do you have it yourself? I wonder.
Yeah, the good thing is about Taiwan, it's an island country, so we're surrounded by sea. I think it's very hard for PRC to take control. The population of Taiwan is 23 million, half of Ukraine, but we're super small. And half of the island is a mountain area. So it's really a highly populated country. And so our infrastructure is really good. We have all this high-speed railway, high-speed rail, etc. So I think the infrastructure is good. It's easily that we can defend ourselves and ship, transport things to other places and manage ourselves. Yeah.
For my last question is how reliant is PRC on ROC and vice versa? Because from my studies, I know that when Hong Kong changed hands and joined China back in the day, it used to have much greater economic impact on China. So they were less keen on taking away democratic liberties that Hong Kong used to have. And nowadays, as its economic influence is diminishing in comparison to other parts of China, the government is actually stepping in and trying to expedite this transition. I think it's probably the similar case with Taiwan, because as China grows stronger, Taiwan, it has a ceiling where it can grow. It's already economically developed country. So I wonder, how reliant are you on each other?
It is very understandable that we export lots of things to China because we use the same language, even though we have our own dialect. But because Mao Zedong, not Mao Zedong, I keep saying Mao Zedong, because General Jiang came. And then, so of course, one of the policy of his government is, you Taiwanese people, you cannot speak your own dialect. You can only speak Mandarin. That's why we speak Mandarin. Or else local people speak different dialect. I don't speak dialect anymore. I can understand it. I can understand what my grandparents say, but I don't speak it well. It's because this sad policy, you're losing part of your identity because you're losing your language, to be honest. Yeah. And so we both speak Mandarin. Also, PRC forced all their people to speak Mandarin, even though there's so many different dialects in their country. So because we share the same language, I think it's easier for us to communicate. So when China become open to the world, and a lot of Taiwanese businessmen do business in China because the labor is super cheap there and there's no environmental regulation, etc., which is getting difficult for them to survive in Taiwan. And so a lot of Taiwanese people, a lot of Chinese businessmen moved there, established a manufacture factory and sell their stuff to the rest of the world. And then Taiwan become the PRC have this chance to control you. Yeah. And it's the problem at the moment because the labor costs rise in mainland China and also all this environmental regulation. So it's not profitable to stay there for this Taiwanese businessmen anymore. Actually, they come back to Taiwan. The challenge is similar. So nowadays, a lot of Taiwanese business come back. But what I want to say is that, certainly the connection with the economic independency of this country is high, but it's also getting lower because people realize that you will just give the PRC an opportunity to withhold you in many ways. If they say one thing and then you lose a lot of money. That's what they have been doing. This is the news today. They just say that the Taiwanese mango have COVID. So we just get rid of this mango. So they have all this excuse. They will just say that this and that, so we're not going to buy any agricultural product from Taiwan anymore. And it's an excuse. It's because you're not obeying them anymore, and they will play around like that. So I think the people eventually realize that we need to cut down our dependency upon Chinese market for sure. And and we need to upgrade ourselves. We need to make high quality product that can become competitive to the rest of the world. And that's why we've been trying hard. Recently, we start exporting better agricultural product to other countries, and Japan, fancy of Taiwanese subtropical fruit, even though it's more expensive than other Southeast country, but they recognize the quality is getting better and better. So I think we do have a big room in international markets. So we're going for that. You need to cut down dependency of one country, especially this kind of non-normal country. Yeah, that's what we've been doing, and China is not happy about that at all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The reason why I ask is I know that the United States and People's Republic of China have this very strange relationship where many call it as weapons of mutual economic destruction if it ever came to like hot conflict between them. Basically, they have too much stake in each other to go to war. And with European example, I think after 2014, after Russia took Crimea, after it invaded Ukraine clandestinely, European states also went this route. They thought that, okay, so if we establish this economic dependency, Russia would never attack because it would be afraid to lose all this profit. This never happened, so this logic didn't really influence the decisions of Russia, and I guess now it's more of a problem for Europe because it cannot just simply give up all the exports and the imports it had just in one day, because they are like they're dependent on energy. Was this a thank you for agreeing to participate in this interview? This has been amazing.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I'm more than happy to share what Taiwan is about. It's a lovely place, I'll say. It's interesting island with a lot of interesting people here. Yeah, I hope more people in the world will get to know us better. Thank you.
Thank you.